We're in for a wild night.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 176 of Born to be Wild, a Wild and Wild adjacent exclusive podcast where we talk about Hearthstone, our favorite game, while having fun, hanging out with our friends. And we never know what's going to happen because now we got a nice guest on that we haven't had on in quite a while. And I'm very excited to introduce this guest. But first, I want to say hi to Sheep. Sheep, how are you doing?
Meowdy friend, I'm doing fantastic, and excitement abounds to introduce Mr. James Corbett Games. Most people probably already know you, but please tell us as much or as little as you would like to about yourself. Who is Corbett?
Ooh, as little. I can make it super mysterious here. It's
You
the
could.
names. Yes, the name's James Corbett. Yeah, no, I'm a Wild Hearthstone streamer. And I dabble into the other modes, twist, and standard. Yeah, do some podcasts and things like that, much like you guys. Big fan of sort of looking at what's good in the format, trying to come up with all the meta breakers and things like that. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while. Love Wild Hearthstone and very happy to be here with you guys today.
Well, we appreciate having you on, and a lot of times we come up with a lot of questions for our interviews, right? We have had you on before, and one of the questions we always ask, which this one just seems so like plain and simple, though, so I don't even feel like it's worth asking, but we'll do it anyway. How did you come up with your screen name, Corbett?
Well, it all started when I looked at my birth certificate.
Yeah.
No. I mean, the thing is, like, when I was a kid, everyone always has their gamer tag, right? Like, everyone always has their thing. But I never really had one. And so, like, when I got, like, a new console, I would often change it. If I played a new game, I would change it. I'd just come up with something random.
Yeah.
And so when I started playing Hearthstone, I didn't really have one. And then I saw, like, Kibler. It was just Kibler in game. And I was like, oh, you can just use your name. Like, it's fine. Like, no one cares. So I just went with Corbett. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Brian, don't call me Kibler. But everyone calls you Corbett, so
Yeah,
that works, right? Well, actually, that works as an origin story, to be honest. I like it.
Yeah, not too many other Corbett's out there on Hearthstone ladder, so it works out fine. Better than James. I think there are a few Jameses still out there.
Yeah, well, actually, little secret, I don't share my name too often, but my middle name is actually James.
That's a good one. That's a
Yeah.
damn good name. Yeah.
That's my dad's name, so I'm rather fond of it as well.
There's a few Jameses out there.
But Corbett, that's the way to go. However, our friend Ogre does like to say hi, Corb, to some old tweets of yours. How many times do you get like replies after he after he says hi, Corb? Like
a lot of people have been baited by Ogre tweets. I mean, he was doing it for a long time. Like he did it for at least maybe like 3-4 months, and then he's run out of tweets. So he started doing like hi Hearthstone, going back from like the Hearthstone Twitter account announcing a new expansion like 2017. And it's like, Hearthstone, new expansion coming out. And he's like, hi, Hearthstone. And, dozens of people got tricked. So, Ogre had a lot of fun with that. And to be honest, it was sort of like a daily ritual for me. Just go live, see what the hi Corb tweet was. And it became, for a long time there, it was like a routine part of my experience each day, which I loved.
I'm not gonna lie, I have definitely been fooled by the Ogre, like hi Hearthstone or hi Corbett tweets. Like, what is this? No, didn't that happen already?
I was fooled once. I was like, these cards are not new. Like, what's going on here? Oh, okay. And then afterwards, I saw that it was a bit of a tradition. It was just a fun one.
Once you like realize the date and it says 2017 on the tweet.
Yeah, that's the giveaway right there.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it. So you also, as you mentioned, do Hearthstone podcasting, right? So the State of Wild, that's been going for quite a while now too, right?
Yeah, we actually just did episode 150, like the most
Nice.
recent one. So that's a cute little milestone. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we've had so we're basically on 3 years now at this point. Like Ruffle joined the show around episode 40, something like 44. So he's done over 100 at this point. So yeah, it's been going on for a really long time. You guys are still out in front though. So that lead looks insurmountable right now.
It's not by a whole lot. Like maybe what do we? This is 176. So
Mhm.
um, but we're keeping her going. We have a lot of fun talking about this game. So as I'm sure that you guys too like doing. So it's really fun. And what I really like about it the most is the community. And I'm sure like you have a sizable chat whenever you're streaming, and it's really nice to see the same people in there all the time. What Ghosty Doggy and everybody's chat, but yeah, it's a fun thing, and it's good to keep going. I like it.
No, I love the WoW community. And sometimes like I might be complaining about the game or not liking the game, and someone might be like, "Oh, so why are you streaming?" It's like because I like streaming. Like it's not just the game. It's like the interaction with everyone and having fun with that. Like that's really just the best part, I think. So
Well, yeah, there's criticism doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, right? When it's something when you're passionate about something, you want it to be the best it can be. So the positive criticism and the things that when you have a platform and a voice, using that is it's kind of smart, really, right?
mhm.
And obviously, we know that the devs listen because both your show and our show have now had the devs on, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, that was awesome as part of the twist announcement. They don't do a ton of those as kind of interviews. So yeah, definitely like a really cool experience. Um, we last real thing that Matt London was doing as part of the Hearthstone team. So it was kind of like his sort of unofficial send off in some ways. So I think
Hmm.
that was really nice as well.
He will definitely be missed.
Absolutely. Well, you were also on a non-Wild exclusive podcast as well. Tell us a little bit about the Vicious Syndicate podcast for those in the Wild know that may not be as familiar with it.
Yeah, so the Vicious Syndicate podcast is basically, in addition to the Vicious Syndicate Data Reaper reports, like the weekly meta reports that come out, they mostly do them for standard. Sometimes they get wild or twist or classic once upon a time. But yeah, it used to be Zach O as the lead, and he did it with Ridiculous Hat. Then once upon a time, Ridiculous Hat got a job at Blizzard. So I
Yeah.
became the replacement, and I've been doing that for what are we up to now? Maybe about 4 or 5 months, I think. So yeah, it's been good. We kind of just break down what's happening in standard. It's very meta focused and like very competitively focused. So it's a very different type of show. It's pretty much about as sort of um yeah, so narrow in terms of what we're discussing, like what's good, what's bad, what's happening in the meta, and not too much. But if you are interested in like what's going on in standard, and getting some of those insights, definitely worth a listen. Well, I'm biased, but I was a fan before I was part of a host, so
I've always appreciated the fact that the two different meta reports with like the Tempo Storm and the Vicious Syndicate, right? Some of it is expert, driven, like a little bit of opinion based, right? And then you
Mhm.
have completely data driven, and I love both sides of it because data is solid, but also there's pocket metas and counters and all this sort of thing that you can go about talking about when it comes to certain matchups and stuff that may not actually show up in the data. So that's super cool.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's the point of the whole like written section in like a VS report, right? Like if it was just like the numbers, then they could just post the table,
Yeah.
and there would be no article, and that would be it. But like the analysis and talking the trends, I think that's the real meat of it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, getting that mix and match and getting some opinions and what's going on, what are the trends. I think that's also really important for sure, definitely.
I feel that a lot of people appreciate the work that's done there for sure.
Absolutely. So before we get into the meat of the show, um, we definitely don't want to wait until the very end for people to know where around the internet they can find you. So where around the internet can you be found, Corb?
You can find me at Corbett on Twitch and Corbett Games on Twitter. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter and YouTube.
We're still doing it too.
I mean, like you have to keep doing it until you're the last person. Like until you were the lone soldier calling it Twitter. I mean, I think we're just collectively we're just going to ignore what Elon did on that one. I think.
I think people would be more confused if we called it X instead, right? Like Twitter
Yeah, it's
has
like
that
what kind of show is this?
Right.
Yeah, what kind of show are we talking about here? X.com.
This
That's
is a
why-
family show.
That's why we actually we don't say it much anymore, but we had to always specify that it's born to be wild hs.com. You don't want to go to borntobewild.com. It's different. HS.
Very important.
Very important.
So for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. Let me briefly explain how this show works. We record this podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/borntobewildhs. That HS is very important. And the video version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions, of course, are also distributed to all the podcast apps. So however you are watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes.
Yes.
You.
All right. One thing that we'd like to do is say a quick thank you to Shokunin and the other main patrons of our show. Your support means the absolute world to us. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe and comment on this video on YouTube. Another simple way to support the show is to leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, or whatever podcast platform that you choose to use. If you're watching live on Twitch, we've got some awesome emotes that you can unlock by subscribing to the channel. This is free if you've got Amazon Prime. And there are also emotes you can unlock free just for following. Also, we do have Born to Be Wild merch. I forgot to wear my Born to Be Wild merch. That's okay. It's Hearthstone merch instead. But we do have Schmoopy Mommy and Schmoopy Daddy here rocking the Born to Be Wild merch. Looks real good on the both of those guys. Love them both. You can find that in the links on our website so that you can get that straight from our site, or we can drop it here in Twitch chat. Finally, we'd also like to say that you can join our Patreon for little as $1 per month. If you'd like to interact with us personally, please join our Discord. It's a free, amazing online community of friends across the world who love talking about Wild Hearthstone and a bunch of other things. Like we got all the cute cats and all this stuff there. So if you want to see all this stuff, you can go to borntobewildhs.com, and all the links are provided there. And finally, I just want to go over who I would also like to thank, and that is the people with the funny usernames. So if you're not familiar, we do have a channel in our Discord where people post the funny names of their opponents that they see in their travels. So we like to dedicate each episode to these special people. So this week we have Beer. That's a good one. Au revoir, Pot Sticker. What is this? KFC for life. Doobie Damage. You have to be careful of Doobie Damage, right? Huge Savings. What is Jot the Plumber? Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber, yeah.
Joe the Plumber. I if that's a reference, I don't know what it is. Name taken. Is real. Why? Hearthstones? And Piggy is mine. Also, and finally, to the best one, the last one that we received. This is dedicated to you, Poop Man.
Thank you, Poop Man. So now is the time of the show where we see how our weeks were. Hydra, how was your week in Hearthstone and outside of it this past week, my friend?
Well, I don't like always referring to work, which I do, but we've had like this huge shakeup, right? And I've known about it for a long time, but have been allowed to talk about how one of the managers is quitting. And they specifically have sort of tried to set me up to like apply and take their job when they leave. So that's been super stressful because I've been thinking about that a lot. But outside of that, I've been doing like a crazy amount of exercising. Today, I did a 15K jog, which was
Whoa.
ridiculous. Yeah, so you can see that James's eyes like open up because he actually uses kilometers. Sheep is in the United States and doesn't.
But I ran cross country in high school. I know that 5K is over 3 miles, and you ran 3 times that. That's more than 2.
Well, so we do this thing. It's a long weekend this weekend, and every long weekend we have a barbecue lunch. And so it's like an extended lunch at work. And while everybody else eats a lot of food, I'm like, I can run further. So that's what I think. So I'm just going to run instead of. So I actually made a burger and a hot dog and I ate them and then I ran. It wasn't like the best idea.
Oh, God.
Such severe stomach cramps. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. But then I ran 15 kilometers, which was. I did not bring a spare change of clothes, so I was kind of sweaty when I got back. That was a bad idea. But when I got back, so it's in Canada, we've got Thanksgiving weekend this weekend. That's different over in the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's next month, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have it now, and everybody just left early anyway. So when I got back to the office around 2 p.m., there was nobody there. So it didn't matter. And we do have showers, so I could shower, but doesn't like what's your closer at that state? There's nothing you can do about it.
Shower and then put on the sweaty clothes again. Yeah, it wouldn't matter that much.
Yeah, but that's fine. Most people were gone, so it wasn't that big of a deal. In Hearthstone, I've been trying to. So I've basically at this point, and don't shame me, but I've abandoned the other servers by now. Like it's too hard. As most people know, I've been running the 3 servers since Old Gods is when I started doing like every daily quest on 3 servers. And in the last couple months, it's like when you're about to go to bed and you're like, oh no, I've got to do my Asia quests, and you do that instead of going to sleep. Like it's a problem, right? So like I've been doing it for a really long time, and I've found that I've been playing other games, doing other things, and it's a bit much. So I've been focusing mostly just on the one NA server and just doing. I could focus on Twist, Standard, Wild there. I don't need to do the other things I've let go. If I missed one daily quest before, it would keep me up at night. Like that's bad, right? Like like oh no. 100 gold is a pack. I need all of my gold. But so I've been balancing. So I have not hit legend in any format this month so far. It's the 6th. So that's okay. We got plenty of time. Mm-hmm. I've played everything. I played Wild. I played Twist. I played Standard. But nothing, haven't taken anything to legend yet. And of course I'm rocking the Warcraft Rumble. Have you tried it yet, Corb? Because you have it where you are, right?
I have not tried the Warcraft Rumble. I am generally okay, Hydra, I'm gonna be honest. You gotta tell me, what the hell is the Warcraft Rumble?
Okay,
is that the new game that's out? Or is that what it is?
Yeah. So it's Blizzard, right?
Yeah, but is that the Clash Royale?
It is the Clash Royale clone, basically, right?
Okay.
Like it's the same game, but obviously skin for Warcraft. But it has like this deeper level to it where there's a lot more strategies and stuff going on and more things to do, and it's way harder. In fact, if you look at the reviews on like the Google Play Store or the iTunes Store, everyone's like, I quit, it's too hard. It's like
wow.
Like there's definitely, and I left a review and like skill cap noobs.
That sounds like a skill issue.
Yeah, no, it is hard. It's actually quite hard, and you have to like think a lot more. And I think playing a game like Hearthstone helps because essentially you're building a deck, right? And then it's a game. It's like a tower defense, like lane running game, right? So you have to you choose your hero. You can be like Jaina, like there's all the different like horde, and then there's undead and everything, right? So you can pick all your different heroes. Then you got to build a team. You have to make synergy, just like a Hearthstone deck, and then you go through. After that, it's very much like Mercenaries, to be honest. There's all the PvE that you build your team to verse in the PvP. And I don't know if that's something like that you're into at all, but I'm basically addicted to it. Like, it is also a gotcha game. Like, you could go on and you can buy gold for money, kind of thing. Just like Hearthstone has rune stones now, right? Like, you can go and you can just buy the rune stones and you can buy the cards. It's got all that inside it. But it's really cool because you're used to all the voice lines and they've like redone them, but not in a bad way like they did Leroy. But it's super fun, and we've got a little Hearthstone guild going on, like Hearthstone Veteran Guild.
Oh, hell yeah!
Going right now. It's quite small at the moment, but yeah, it's fun. So if you end up playing, let me know. See if you want to jump in there. I won't.
Yeah,
I won't,
sure. It's not a small guild. It's exclusive. All right, we got to rebrand it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's exclusive. Well, it basically at this point, because Blister Guy and I were the ones who started the guild, and it says that you have to message us on Discord, and then we'll like approve like you to come in, because right now all the guilds are public, right? So anybody can just say, hey, I want to join, but we don't want it just flooded with people that actually don't like play Hearthstone or whatever. So it's kind of like the Hearthstone community within Warcraft Rumble.
Yeah, when you started that, I thought you were gonna say that you and Blister Guy were the only people in the guild, and I was like, oh, very exclusive.
Yeah. Please, someone else join. I mean, it's actually they only have they have to increase it. They only have like a 15 or 20 person cap on guild size right now. So I would like if they increase it. It's really cool because there's guild rewards. Like you unlock, like we unlocked Sneeds was like in the first month. So the first season, if you get enough points that you work together, you can unlock like different heroes and stuff. So it's really cool. Everyone's sort of working together to get goals. But enough about Warcraft Rumble and Hydra. Sheep, tell me about your week. How did that go?
Yeah, so my week had its own ups and downs. So I wasn't on the show last week because my wife had COVID last week. And so I was coming home from work, and she like tested because she was, feeling a little under the weather. I was bringing the baby home because it was my day to both go into the office and take him to daycare. And since she isolated, neither the lamb or I actually ended up getting COVID, which was great. But since she had COVID and he was exposed to her, he couldn't go into daycare. So I was the sole caretaker of him. He couldn't go anywhere. It was great spending time with him. I loved spending time with him, but I was also trying to juggle work simultaneously. And that was what was hard. Also, usually my partner and I, she and I tag team, evening caretaking. That one of us at least gets sleep one night, the other one gets sleep the next night. That was all me. So I'm catching up on sleep a little bit still. All to say, little guy had 2 ear infections and was teething, so he did not sleep much, which means that I did not either. Aww. However, on October 1st, while I was chasing after him, he was largely over his ear infections. And so he was actually getting some sleep himself. And I was playing a lot of games on mobile, which means that I hit Legend and Twist on Saturday, the 1st. That one.
The first was Sunday. It was Sunday.
That one. So I kind of refined the Handbuff Paladin.
Not only did you hit Legend on the first, you got rank 2 Legend.
That is true. Admittedly, it was the first day. There were 3 of us in Legend at that point. So
that's more than 2.
That is more than 2. So I kind of saw what meta I was running into and kind of tailored my hand buff to that meta, hence why I have some things like Iron Beak Owl, and not some things like a more aggro list. Mine's more kind of mid-rangey because I was facing off against a lot of handlock. It works out really well into that. Oh my gosh, they drop a Twilight Drake and then they taunt it. And then I just Iron Beak out and laugh maniacally. It's fantastic.
And then their face explodes.
Typically, yeah. So that was a blast. I just had so much fun playing that deck, and a lot of people picked it up after, which was pretty cool, actually. Like, I've never been like the person that people have been net decking before, like at least on this scale. So that feels really cool. There is someone who then refined this deck more recently for the meta that he was facing, who's a little bit more used to having people net deck him. And that is our good friend Corb. So Corb, how was your week, friend?
It was good. I mean, firstly, I will say I hope that next week you get to become Electric Sleep City. So best of luck with that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, you touched on it, like in terms of Hearthstone stuff. Yeah, Twist, Handbuff Paladin seemed to be doing really well. It started popping up, probably, largely because of you. Like I saw a lot of early stats on that, and I was like, oh, this deck seems good. And yeah, there's a lot of Warlock out there. So it's funny. You actually say I like refined it. I don't even know if I refined it. I was just trying stuff. And then my list that I eventually ended up on, that I didn't post on Twitter, that I kept playing, it kind of looked a lot more, like yours originally. Like I went back to the Divine Favors and stuff because I just kept saying Warlock. Like 90% of my games were against Warlock in Twist. So there's a lot of it out there. I think Twist, there might be some stuff that is still very under the radar right now. Like I've had some games against some Token Shamans, and Token Shaman I actually thought was quite impressive.
Mhm.
So I think there's a little bit more room to the format than you might think right now. But yeah, that's been pretty much it in the Hearthstone. It's like doing this wild thing as well. A lot of Yogs running around wild. A lot of Yogs running around wild. But yeah, outside Hearthstone, outside gaming, I continue to be on the recovery for this broken finger. Don't mind if I flip you off. I'm showing you the injury. I've been dealing with this for a long time, and got surgery a couple weeks back, and then had some minor surgery this week. So yeah, Hydra's talking about the running. I kind of got banned off running for a couple reasons
Oh, no.
over the past few weeks. So I'm kind of jealous, but 15K, that's better than me on my best day. So I'm trying to work up towards that. Maybe I can get some pointers from you, to be honest.
Honestly, the only pointer I can give is you suck at the start and you're going to suck for a long time. And eventually it takes a while, but you get better, right? Like I was very impressed with myself today because it's been a long road, right? Like when I first decided I was going to start like running, it was like 2 years ago, and I went to run around my block, and I live on a big hill, right? And you have to run up before you can run back down around the block. And when I got to the top, my heart rate was like at 185 beats per minute or something. I'm like, I ran half a block, man, like around the block. Like how did that happen? Right? And I'm like, I got a lot of work to do. So I got there, and I'm still like, there's guys at my work that are amazing at it, and I got a long ways to go as well. I feel like I've been sitting in my butt playing too many video games.
Relatable. Yeah.
I
Right?
resemble that remark.
Yeah. So once you're able to run, is it because of the finger they don't want you to run?
That was part of it. They said like do not sweat because I feel like we're getting into some gory details here, but there was some like metal rod in there, and they're like, we don't want that to get in like risk of infection, and so just don't
Okay.
exercise, all that. But I also had some shoulder problems as well. I basically I play Australian rules football, which I don't even know if you guys know what sport that is, but but it exists.
Can I interject for like half a second?
Absolutely.
More like half a minute. So I went to Australia in 2008, and I went. We flew into Sydney, and then we rented a SUV and we drove north, right? And then at some point we went inland, and we're going through all these towns like Emerald and Ruby. They're all named those towns. You probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we went camping, and when we went camping out there, there was a bunch of people playing Aussie rules football, and they come over and they're like, "Hey, we need somebody." They see me sitting there drinking a beer in my campsite, and they're like, "We need another guy." And I was like, "I don't for what?" They're like, "Football, come on." I'm like, "Okay, let's go do that thing." I have no idea like what's going on or whatever, but I had an absolute blast. And they're also like, "Be nice to the Canadian," right? Like he doesn't know what he's doing, but I had a lot of fun. So I do know what it is. It's been like I said, that's like 2008, so it's been a while, and I do not remember the rules. So the stage is yours once again.
Yeah, don't worry. It takes I think it takes a while to get used to the rules. It's a chaotic sport, but yeah, the point is that I play it, and it's a very physical sport, and I ended up finishing the year very banged up, very injured. So I just had like multiple things that were wrong with me, and so basically I had to take like 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, kind of like off exercise. But I should be good coming into basically this week. So yeah, hopefully this upcoming week I can get back, on the train and stuff with running and everything.
That would be nice. Awesome. That's cool. Hopefully you don't bust yourself up again so quickly, though. All right, like
Oh,
get
one
back
more
out
year,
there.
Yeah, just gotta wait for next season,
Yeah. And when is the season starting up again?
Probably like April, like around then, and it usually
Okay.
goes for like 4 or 5 months. So
Okay, you got
yeah,
some time, some
yeah,
recovery time.
yeah. Time to get fit.
Yeah, buddy.
Welcome to the news. The news is so good.
So we do have some news this week, and the biggest thing that actually came out is Jailer has been jailed. I basically get to read what was posted by, it was actually on the Blizzard forums with the Hearthstone update. And so they came out with patch 27.4.3, and it states that the jailer has been temporarily banned from standard and wild. The dev comment is, "We are putting the jail in jail for crimes against the meta." When we made our last set, I love that. It's cute, right? When we made our last set of changes, Druid was still developing as a class following the mini set. Our changes were locked in. Tony Druid appeared as a top archetype in standard. We know that we want to adjust something in that deck in our next balance window. And we also know we don't want this deck to warp the meta in the meantime. So we're temporarily banning the jailer until our next scheduled balance patch. The jailer will be released on bail, unbanned, in our next scheduled balance patch. At that time, we'll make other adjustments to address Tony Druid, who is the real culprit, and anything else that needs tweaking. Corbett, how do you feel about this and this jailer ban?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the result of very unfortunate timing where they keep doing patches, and then it's like right when they lock in the patch, it's like 2 days or a day before it, this new deck pops up, and then it's a problem. So yeah, just really unfortunate they couldn't really address Druid properly in the first big patch that we got, when we got like Chamber and that massive balance patch a bit over a week ago. But yeah, the thing is, like, Jailer has been banned, and Druid and Standard is still the best deck, like by a really big margin, from what I can tell. So it hasn't really solved the problem. I think that most people are starting to eye off the old god himself. I think Yogg Saron is kind of being flagged as the main issue in Standard, and well, maybe we'll get to Wild as well. But yeah, the Jailer ban is kind of funny because a lot of people are like, "Why is it banned in Wild?" I think there was some technical stuff put out from DeckTech or Hat maybe, which just said if we ban it in Standard, it gets flagged as banned in all formats. So if that's why anyone was wondering, like, why is it banned in Wild? It's just an emergency thing.
Yeah, because normally they just when they're banning
From
wild
Wild.
cards, right? So it's
Yeah,
like ban almost is like a blanket constructed button. Maybe it's just like coded that way.
Yeah, no, they said that. Yeah, where like if it's in standard and it gets the ban, it just hits everything. So probably some weird coding nonsense. I don't know. I'm not a coder. I don't understand. I'm just listening to what I was told, and that's what they said.
No, that totally makes sense, and of course, there's always the cry for dust, right? So It's been banned, so there's the masses reaching out, and of course Zeddy tweeted about it, saying there is no dust refunds at the moment, and is this intended or not? And our good friend Ridiculous Hat reached out saying like the pace of this ban was meant that we couldn't get a dust refund in right now. It's not possible to do that with server patches. We'll have more information here as we get closer to the balance patch discussed in the notes. Makes sense, right? Like if it's almost better that they can act and say get rid of a problem instead of focusing on, oh, like we have to do everything all at once and get the dust done. Like I understand if they have an issue, they can get rid of it. I can if I need my dust, I can wait for it. It's not that big of a deal, really, like right now. Plus, when this gets banned, you don't even know what the next big bad really is and what you want to spend your dust on. So
yeah, this is definitely like a break glass in case of emergency type of situation, and the dust is forthcoming, but like they dealt with the negative play pattern issue, at least what they identified as such. Like you mentioned, Corb, Yogg seems to be the bigger outlier there, though, for sure.
So you've played a lot of since you do the VS thing, you've been playing a lot more standard, right?
Yeah, a little on and off, but like last month towards the end, I was playing a ton. Like I wasn't really interested in streaming Twister or Wild. I think both of those formats kind of had some issues last month. But yeah, I played a ton. This month I'm a little bit behind. Like I haven't done my legend climb yet. I've been focused on the other modes first, but yeah, I've been a bit more focused on standard over the past few months for sure.
Have you had any interactions with the jailer at all recently?
Not since he got jailed. No, I don't visit the facility too often.
Well, I guess so. I just because like it came as a more as someone who doesn't play a lot of standard. Like I only rock like usually like a 8 or 9x in standard. Like it's not something that I climb at all. So like when this happened, I was like, what? Right? Like why? Because I'm playing like obviously a certain level in that format where this was. I mean, when it does happen, it's definitely annoying, right? So, but to the point where it got banned, must be a pretty big issue.
Yeah, particularly like High Legend, there were some crazy screenshots of people posting like the last 25 games, and like 23 of them were against Druid. Like, it was
that's
quite chaotic. I don't know. You'd play an Ubrakan, and then you'd play like Tony, and then you'd play Jailer, and then you'd delete the opponent's deck, and like it was just like very unhealthy. But it turns out Druid's still really good, even without that specific interaction. So yeah, we'll see what they end up eventually doing. And like Sheep said, it's very much a break glass in case of emergency, and really like not what they want to be doing. It's just they felt they had to do something right now, and they probably just didn't want to touch Yogg because Yogg's the big thing in the mini set.
We used to live for a real long time before balance changes, right? Like cards that weren't changed until they were rotated out, like i.e. like Raza patches, stuff like that.
Yeah, patches made it over a full year, which is just crazy to think about, like in hindsight.
Yeah, actually, we did ask the devs if they tested out patches. With the charge, right? And Celestalon's answer was awesome. He's like, yeah, we did. Yeah.
It was busted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Too wild for wild.
Yeah, no, I saw that clip and I was like, we were so close. So this close to greatness.
I mean, it would be nice. In all fairness, when patches was new, I can't tell you how many times you would hear I'm in charge now, and then I would hit end turn before I attacked with them. I'm like, yeah. So when they nerfed patches, I was sad, but the other part of me was like, well, I can't screw that part up.
Yahar.
Yahar indeed. Any more comments on Jailer? No, we good?
Not too much. No, I mean, we'll have to see what they end up doing. I mean, they'll probably unban the card once they pick on a different thing. So hopefully, like, I doubt they're gonna like nerf the Jailer in a different way.
More of a Yogg thing.
Yeah. We'll see what they end up doing, but I think he is gonna make bail quite shortly.
Yeah, they seem to like him, so he'll be back. He'll be back. And I mean, praise Yogg, but they may have to take that route. Also in the news, we had this wasn't more of like a news article, but a bit of a finding, because there was an article saying that the Titans Tavern Pass is going to be available through November 13th, and so that sort of spikes some questions as to like why that date, right? Does that mean at that point in time maybe we can start pre-ordering a new expansion? So I went back and looked, because I know that it's usually at the end of the year, and like the historic release dates of the other expansions are usually early December, right? So like Lich King was the December 6th, Alterac Valley the 7th. The earliest one that we've ever had was November 17th. So I think basically that tracks. Will probably have this available through that point, and then maybe pre-orders will start then. Sort of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think BlizzCon, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's around like the 3rd of November or something around then. So there could very well be like a reveal around that time as well, before maybe available pre-orders around this time. I don't know. I'm not really sure what they typically do. It sounds like you've done a little bit more research than I have.
The 3rd, that actually tracks, I think, because I think that's now the official release date of Warcraft Rumble to the masses. So that sort of makes sense. I saw, which was really cool, was the summit thing that they had at Blizzard that our good friend Clark Hellscream was at, and there's a bunch, including Trump SC, that were invited to go out to Blizzard and get to try the game and have fun and hang out with each other. I was so jealous, like watching them hang out at Blizzard headquarters, having a barbecue and playing Warcraft Rumble. It seemed really cool.
Yeah, watching Ben Hearthstone's tweets throughout, like with all of the Blizzard Starbucks was the coolest. Like it had all of the different like Blizzard IP and all the different tie-ins with that. It looked really cool. So definitely recommend checking that out. It was really neat.
I missed that one. I'm gonna have to check that one out. But I did see Ben Hearthstone in a bunch of pictures, and it's really neat to see everybody. I know Clark was very excited. He kept tweeting like, "I have something, but I can't tell you what it is. Stay tuned. I will tell you when I'm allowed to." Gosh darn NDAs. But so there wasn't a whole lot of news really. So let's get into some decks, like what you guys have been playing recently. So what's this first deck that we have up here? This looks like, we were just talking about. There's Yogg, and it's a Druid deck. Do you have the first image there, or is this your deck, Corp?
Yeah. I mean, like I was just thinking,
Giants Druid.
You're gonna Druid deck. Like that's maybe more specific than that, because there's a lot of that
running
around.
Yeah. I didn't see a deck title, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, what have I been playing? Like in Wild, I've been playing pretty much like 2 decks. The first is the Questline Druid, with Yogg and the Giants, and this deck is very broken. I think it's a just crazy powerful compared to the rest of the field right now. But it's not so popular. Like people don't really love playing this deck in general. Like it's very hard for it to gain significant traction. But definitely like the deck that I would recommend if anyone's doing a Legend climb. Questline Druid, the super busted. And yeah, it takes great advantage of Yogg-Saron, so it's a really nice fit for that deck as well.
Well, yeah, I guess it was a funny statement and a very accurate one. Yogg and Druid, which one could it be? What does Druid do? Druid plays a lot of spells, so that that sort of tracks, right?
Yeah.
Did you say with your climb, you said you weren't climbing to Standard? Did you climb to Legend already in Wild, or no?
Yeah, I've done my Legend climb in Wild and in Twist, but not Standard yet. But yeah, in Wild, I'm pretty sure I played Rogue. We'll get to Rogue, but I played Rogue to get to Legend, and then I played a ton of Druid when I was actually in Legend. So those have been like the main 2 so far. Yeah.
Right on. And then also we have your hand buff. So this is the hand buff Paladin was the one that you were running in Twist, I suppose. With you're running Black Knight, hey?
Yeah, like I said, I had to get very like warlock teched. So added in, some cards that, I mean, Sheep was talking about how good Owl is, right? Against like a Twilight Drake that's taunted. You're like, it's better than silencing a taunted Twilight Drake, just killing it. So
Kaboom!
like that's yeah, that also works pretty well. So yeah, ran some stuff like Black Knights, like Lothab. Lothab can be really good playing into like a twisting nether turn. I think Handbuff Paladin, like, it's kind of some toying around that you can do, especially when we have the 30 to 40 card option.
Oh yeah.
It makes things, yeah, maybe even like a little bit more complicated. But yeah, Handbuff seems super strong right now. So yeah, again, big shout out to Sheep for kind of you know, flagging that deck to the rest of the community as well.
You know what I love is any deck that I can see Wicker Flame Burn Bristle being played in, right? Like when that card first came out, I loved it so much. I'm like, this card is underrated. I'm playing this card forever. Then Ziliax came out. But like,
Yeah, well, and now they buffed it. Now it's a 3/3 instead of a 2/2. Like I used to love it as well. I used to play it a ton with Corpse Taker, because it had all the keywords, and it basically
yeah.
pushed Corpse Taker by itself. So, yeah, definitely a fan of it. And now that they've buffed it, it's just really good. It's like the only like lifesteal minion really in Twist. So, it's kind of a unique card in that regard for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. I also love its intro. I've always loved its intro.
Oh, I just remembered Warlock has the one lifesteal minion. All right, scrap that from the record. They have the Queen of Pain. Is that what her name? The 2-mana 1/4
Yeah, the
is
one
a
for
lifesteal.
is that the one
Yeah.
that wait, is that the one that grows with the discard?
No.
What isn't that life still?
No, I think it's just a 1/4 demon lifesteal, but I can't remember its name. I think they changed its name at one point, maybe, or changed its art. I think it might have been one of those cards, but Mistress of Pain or Queen of, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, whatever.
It's not Hearthstone Jeopardy. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, that's a different show. Yeah.
Right. So it sounded like you wanted to talk a little about the rogue deck.
Mhm.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, Miracle Rogue, like this is the deck that I did my legend climb with. This deck it's very funny because like the wild patch came out and the patch was talking about taking away wild Hearthstone games that don't feel like Hearthstone. And then you post a screenshot of like a 40/40 Edwin on turn 3, and it's like, does this feel like Hearthstone? Maybe. Like, I don't know. It feels kind of like Hearthstone. But yeah, it was very fun. This deck's super good. Probably second best deck in Wild, I think, behind the Druid. Yeah, like 40/40 Edwards, a whole bunch of 0-mana Arcane Giants. It uses Yogg-Saron really well, which is, again, a theme among the good decks in both formats, Standard and Wild. And yeah, like it just pumps out its whole deck and just plays everything, and it's really really quite something. A change that I've made recently as well is the deck replacing Lothab with Zephyrus. No, this is
Okay.
not a Reno deck. This is not a Highlander deck, but you
draw so many.
you draw so many cards, yeah, that like the Zeph can be active kind of like very, very early. So not a bad thing to try out as well. So but yeah, Miracle Druid, Miracle Rogue super strong.
That's kind of
For
like
sure.
we used to run Reno and Mechathune
Hmm.
Warlock, right? Like just
Yeah.
because you drew so many cards that like why wouldn't you? Like
Yeah,
it totally makes sense.
you'd often also play Hemet, I think. Like you'd play the
Yeah,
Hemet and then the
the
Reno
Hammett would
be
just nuke your deck.
mm,
Yeah. And so your
yeah,
Reno's active.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I missed that deck.
It's gone. I mean, no
Very
coming
much
back,
so.
sadly.
It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, I kind of miss it as well. Yeah, I miss the Mechathune. I thought that was like a pretty reasonable, good, fun kind of combo deck to exist in Wild. I always never really had a problem with that one. That one I think was really nice to have in the format.
I think the reason I didn't have a huge problem with it is
Mm.
combo. I mean, in my opinion, anyways, like you got to figure it out, right? You got to get your
Mhm.
reps in. And when I first started playing that deck, I played it with a like sub 50% win rate, like for the longest time. But I'm like, when it works, it really works. So I'm gonna get it down to like the point where like I'm actually really good at it. And I played it and I played it and I played it. And I like eventually like I turned it around and I was like
Mhm.
kicking butt with it. And I just I really liked it. And I've never been a huge combo player. And then they took my baby away, unfortunately.
They
Right.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. So you made legend with this Miracle Rogue. Do you remember like what your record possibly was, like win rate on this? I mean,
Oh,
ballpark doesn't.
yeah, probably like 67%. I think something around that kind of number. I think.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it's not. It's almost a nice number. It's not far off.
It's only 2 away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
close.
only two.
But yeah, like definitely a good record. It was hard to maintain like a super high win rate because the mirror was very, very popular, and you know, in a mirror, one player wins, one player loses. It's hard to gain too much of an edge in that one sometimes. But
Do
yeah,
you have the
definitely.
coin?
Yeah, like it could be like that. So, but you know, definitely a really good climb, for sure. Like, yeah, that was nice.
What would you say you saw the most, honestly, like on the climb, like the D5 to legend? Was it flooded with aggro at the time, or
Milk Rogue, yeah. There's
yeah,
tons. Yeah, a lot of mirrors. It was definitely like the new, not the new, but like the big hyped up deck, I think, following the nerfs. So many decks got nerfed in Wild, like so many. And this was kind of like one of the only you know, non-Hearthstone decks that, you know, maybe got left. That could do these really ridiculous things. And I think people were very excited to put you know, to play it. And this type of deck is usually quite popular at the like 11x MMR that like, you know, like those players typically like in general, the decks that play lots of cards, that cheat lots of mana, that do lots of broken things when it works. Compared to, you know, they often might reject a deck that's more like even shaman, for example. So this type of thing was very suited to like the player base at the ranks that I typically play at. So I was seeing just an absolute ton of it. And to be fair, I was part of the problem. You know, I was playing it as well. So can I blame anyone? No, not really.
yeah, I suppose, right? Like if you're streaming it and people are seeing it, right? Oh, this is working. Well,
And,
I guess what do you expect, right?
and we're definitely not into deck shaming here. If you're having fun or success with a deck, like it's not your responsibility to balance the game. It's your responsibility to have fun and play it. So you were doing that thing.
No, a couple of years ago, the first appearance, I think it might have been the first appearance of Schmoopy Daddy on our show. He came on and was showing his version of Secret Mage, right? And everyone's played Secret Mage, right? But what he was playing was pretty good at the time, right? And so he came on and we posted the video on YouTube, and it blew up, right? And then unfortunately, Schmoopy Daddy was responsible for spreading Secret Mage across the meta. And that's all you saw because he came on, he showcased it. And then we even like, I think we clipped like just a portion of the show that was only about Secret Mage, right? And it got a lot of views. And thus you went on the ladder and you saw a lot of Secret Mage. So thanks, Schmoopy Daddy.
I never knew I had to associate Schmoopy with Secret Mage. It's very against his brand right now, but I have some questions that next time I see him.
Yeah, no, that was him. Good job.
He got better.
He's why some people quit the game. No, it's all good. Like along what Sheep says, we don't deck shame. If it's good, why wouldn't you play it, right? And I've pulled a full 180 like on that when decks were first hitting the meta and they were real good. I didn't want to play it. Like the aggro mid-range shaman with spear claws when that first came out, and like tunnel trog, totem golem, and that stuff. Every game I played was against it, and so I'm like, I'm not gonna play that, right? Like that's cheating. That's too good. I'm gonna be a hipster. Well, guess what? Everyone was just zooming past me on the ladder because I wasn't playing the good thing. So now if it's good, I'll just play it.
Like I will usually try and like play what I think can be good or what is good. Sometimes there just isn't that much to experiment with, and so like some metas I just become very, like I just willing to play like whatever the perceived tier one decks are. And some metas it'll be a bit more experimental if I think that there's something undiscovered. But yeah, definitely like I think that the desire to kind of do your own thing and be a little bit hipster, is something that we can all probably relate to a little bit. Like I think it's nice to do your own thing and feel like you're having your own little unique impact on the game, and especially if it's like an original deck building thing for you, like that can always be your little darling. But yeah,
Mhm.
maybe over time, definitely for me as well. I think I've become like a lot more willing to just play the good stuff and just maybe until it gets nerfed and then something else is the good stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the way they nerf so fast as well has kind of affected that a little bit. I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
They're very fast to act now, which is nice. One person that I've always had like full respect for when it comes to just sort of doing your own thing is Dr. Evil Taylor. Like she'll just post a list saying, "Oh yeah, I just played a control warrior. It's a pile of cards and I took it to legend," and post the list. Like sort of like as a point, really like you don't have to play, like the best hotness, right? Like you can come up with your own thing. And she would do that with like all sorts of decks. Like just yeah, I'm gonna invent my own. Nobody is playing this deck and I'm gonna play it and do really well.
Yeah, what I really like about Twist is that it kind of lends itself to that deck building innovation because yes, the nerfs obviously were foundational in that. If Chamber hadn't been nerfed, then we'd just be seeing more Disco Lock. But coming into this season, it's like what can we play that might be fun, and be it with the same card pool but with a different rule set. I think that's just opens up a lot of room for innovation that people can have fun with. But then also, you always can see different top tier decks and not just be in a more stagnant meta. So it's kind of the best of both worlds that I've been having a lot of fun with in that particular aspect.
Yeah, I think Twist, like last month was figured out very quickly. And the downside of that is obviously that a lot of players were put off and like they might not come back. But the upside of that is that, things are a lot more unrefined right now. Things are still being figured
Mhm.
out. Like there's a lot more room for you to go do your own thing that other people aren't doing, and potentially find something that really works and works for you. So there is kind of like the whole data era of Hearthstone. I mean, it's a conversation that's been had like a lot about like the pros and cons of it. I do think it has like pros and cons having so much information out there.
Mhm.
And Twist is a throwback a little bit in not just like the era of Hearthstone that it's in, but because the mode isn't that popular, because people just aren't really streaming it, there's not a lot of net decking going on. There's a real like gap of information right now.
Mhm.
And so sometimes that can be good, sometimes it can be bad. Like sometimes it's bad if I queue in a 90% Warlock because everyone thinks Warlock's broken, but maybe that's good because maybe there's a hidden broken Shaman deck out there that no one knows about, and it can be my job or my experience to play that and popularize it and something that I can do, which is really really cool.
Yeah, when it comes to Twist, I don't know. Like I saw a lot of what you're talking about, people being unimpressed with how the meta was solved so quickly, right? But I think I was sort of like on the outside of everybody else's opinion because I saw that, and while it's true, it's going to be a format that is constantly refreshed. And like we've had some stale metas in the past, right? That have gone on for months and months. And Twist is supposed to be something that's revitalized like on a seasonal basis kind of thing. So while maybe it did get quote unquote solved, um things may like there's other stuff that always comes up, but we're still going to get a new fresh meta like the next time there's a new season. So it's going to still keep like rolling. There's going to be other things, and there are gems that come out of it. Like I always think back to Finja Force 5, right? That nobody thought Finja was like a good card until like what, Water Rogue, right? Like when that became a thing, somebody figured it out like right before rotation. Like how that was great. Like stuff like that can definitely happen. But even if it doesn't, like Twist is the seasons are temporary, so I'm okay
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's a pretty valid point. I think that there is kind of a little bit of an exception with this format because we are like rolling the same card pool basically
Mhm.
from one season to the next. Like there is there is the rule change where we go from 30 to 40, but there was kind of a little bit of significant risk of players getting very fatigued by Disco and Rogue, and the format was probably uniquely unbalanced. Like
Mhm.
it was one of the more unbalanced formats ever. So it definitely like understand the point of, it's temporary, like, there'll be something interesting in the future. But while it was fun for me to play for maybe about 2 weeks, that was about it. I was about at my limit. And I think a lot of players in general kind of like hit their limit like around then. And that last couple of weeks were a real slog uh for a lot of people.
Yeah. I also think
Mhm.
we have like we pay attention, right? You pay attention to like what's in the meta. We're looking at like the best decks and stuff. So I guess like
Mhm.
when we get sick of something, we're probably getting sick of it way quicker than like some guy who plays at work on the toilet.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? So
Or
like
or sick of different stuff. That's
yeah.
also another key thing.
He's missing his chamber pot of viscous.
Well done. But yeah, so like maybe that's like another angle they take that like we are the vocal minority, right? Like
Mhm.
we're the ones that play the game a lot, right? Like the first day of the month we're jamming games like crazy, and yeah, like the meta shapes like quite quickly. But as we keep being told, when you are in the like 10x and up kind of like zone, you're kind of like a small portion of the population, and they're trying to please everybody. Um,
Yeah. More to Corb's point, though, there were definitely some significant power outliers before the nerfs, and
oh
they were
yeah, for sure.
desperately needed. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that they did that thing, because now the format is wide open again for that experimentation, which I feel like is the real strong suit of the mode.
I really appreciate the dev team, like how active they are staying on top of this kind of stuff. Like it's pretty good, and I encourage it more. Because yeah, it's not the biggest switch up like for the new season, like Corb, like you said, adding like the ability to have more cards in a deck and whatnot. There could be a lot more that they could do other than stuff like that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to have this one be kind of a small change because they were packaging it with the Caverns of Times pack. So, like, if people buy that, you want it to be useful for multiple months, so that way they feel like they're getting their money's worth. But in the future, yeah, things could get really quite hectic, one month to the next. But I still think the monetization aspect of Twist needs tweaking, needs to be figured out because I don't think it's quite accessible enough right now. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what they end up landing on moving forward in the future.
How much are they selling the pre-built packs or decks for? Do you guys remember?
There's some I think for 1,000, but I'm not entirely sure. Like they range. I think it goes from like
Mhm.
1,000 gold, and there might be like over 2,000 for the more expensive ones, but I'm not 100% sure
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, there were a couple of them that were 1,000, and the majority of them were the more expensive one at 3,200. So it was a pretty good chunk of gold.
Was that disco?
I think it was, but Disco also had, like, it was a different Disco build for sure. I just don't remember the exact makeup of it because as a very engaged Wild player, I already had the cards. Those were not meant to kind of get me into the mode because I was already going to play it. The monetization model and getting new players into it, that I think Corb is speaking to, is what really needs to be kind of figured out so that the mode itself flourishes rather than kind of stagnates in the
Yeah.
player base.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Is like you, somebody who's been playing the game for a while. If there's a new deck, yeah, we can try it because we have the cards in our collection, and investing everything you have just into one deck that may or may not get nerfed kind of stinks. Like, okay, maybe you'll get some dust, but maybe that was 3,200 gold you could have saved for the next expansion instead of dropping it on like one deck and twist. So
That's
full
32
agree.
packs. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're especially as a free to play player, if I got 32 packs, that's a lot,
It's more than
right?
two.
Especially with the duplicate protection that we have now. So, I've got a question I would like to ask, Sheep.
And now, unrelated advice with Nate Wolf.
It's not with Nate Wolf, it's with Corbett Games, actually. I'm actually going to ask you two questions, if you don't mind.
A two-parter.
So as somebody who likes to innovate and get a jump on the meta, I'm actually like serious question. Like, what is your approach? Because you seem to quite often have, as Sheep mentioned earlier, like a deck that can become like the new hotness, innovating and getting a jump on the meta. Like when you start the new month or there's a new balance patch or whatever it is, what do you do? Like, what is your approach from the beginning, if you don't mind?
Oh, for a second I thought you were asking Sheep. Yes, okay, sorry, my part. Yeah, I don't know. Like I think it's different for each circumstance. Like coming off a balance patch, you're mostly looking at what wasn't hit, like which decks benefit the most from what's missing in the format, and what really changes. So or do nerfs open up possibilities for new decks? Like I think even Warrior or Oda buffs open up possibilities for new decks. So like even Warrior, for example, is something that got really nice synergy with the 2-mana 2/2 armorer, being such a natural fit in that deck. Along with some other pretty significant buffs like Trial of Fire, and all of a sudden it starts to piece together. It makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I think like in general, you just kind of figure out like what is the broken interaction, and you start from there, and you move on from that point onwards. Like, what is the deck trying to do? Like, when it does its thing, how powerful is that? How often can it do that thing? And
How
just
can you
figuring
support
out,
the broken thing? How can I
yeah,
draw the
yeah.
broken thing?
Yeah, like do you have redundancy for these cards? Like, does the whole package make sense? And so yeah, I mean, Wild has such a long history that makes it very different than Standard when it comes to deck building. So Wild, you have all these years of knowing what cards are good and what cards are bad. So it's a lot more about kind of slotting in the powerful stuff into existing shells. Whereas something like um, Twist was probably like a lot more up in the air, where it was mostly just like evaluating like what are the 5-star cards in the format, because most of the time what defines the best decks in the format is like which individual cards are the 5-star cards, and like everything usually fills in around that. So
Yeah.
no matter what it is, like whether it's like like Jade Telegram and Scarab Lord and Rogue and Twist, like those are real 5-star cards. um it turned out that like like the boom bots in Warrior were like 5-star cards. And things kind of piece together from there, and I think that's the biggest thing, is that do the broken thing, have the broken thing, and build around that. And that's usually where the starting point should usually lie. Even if you're making like your own homebrew, right? If you're coming up with a new homebrew deck that you want to try, like identify what is the idea here, like what is the powerful thing that is going to win you games, and then you kind of build the layers up around from that main idea.
5-star card written down on a notepad near Hydra's desk. Look for 5-star card next Twitch format. No, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like what is gonna be in the format, and build around that exact one for each format. No, that's good. I like that. I mean, that was the wiser words part, Sheep. Now I got to ask the stupid question. We could have just rolled with that, but no, I said 2-part question. So the second question, or second part, it's not a second part. I told you I was going to ask you a stereotypical Australian question from the beginning. So I guess I have to stick to that, right? So what is Vegemite? Do you guys actually eat it? Does it taste good? And why?
Okay, I was actually having a conversation with someone this morning. They were like, "Do you eat Vegemite?" And I'm like, "No," and I never eat it, and like almost killed me with eyes when I said that. I feel like I said something very offensive. No, like I grew up in a household with it. Like my mum would eat it, but like my dad hated it. Like myself and my brother, like we refused to have it. It's an incredibly like strong taste, like as
Yeah.
a as a toast spread. That's for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. It's a Marmite type like spread that people use for sandwiches and toast, and is very uh stereotypically Australian. But yeah, it's kind of like bitter almost, or it has this like really powerful taste and smell. And yeah, no, I hate it. Like it's disgusting to me. It's not
So-
not something that I want. So people do eat it. I don't.
The Wikipedia definition of it is a thick, dark brown Australian food spread made from leftover brewer's yeast extract with various vegetable and spice additives.
Mm-mm. That sounds, and it does look as delicious as you might imagine.
Wiser words have never been spoken. And you heard that on
More to be.
Wild.
Wild.